Hello, this is Ryder here to review the Ultraman Blazar Blazar Stone 04. So, in a surprise twist, they actually fulfilled themselves and did a fourth set. Yes, technically, Ultraman gimmicks sent Taiga have, well, for the most part, have always gone up to 4. With the Ultra accessories and the Ultra medals. So it kind of made sense that we were going to get a fourth set, but it was just kind of like, again, it was kind of wary at that point because, well, can they? They already did the 6 Ultra Brothers. However, they actually managed to do one. So this is, again, I finally got this, but for some reason it took. I got these in December. It's now February. This set comprises of the Ultraman Stone Gashapon version, Leo, Astra, 80, Ginga Stream, and G'd Royal Mega Master. I have to make sure this is... Yeah, okay, this is Ginga Stream. But obviously, I'll get to the pamphlet when I actually do open this. But if I remember, the way they found how they managed to circumvent the Gashapon variant and to make them consistent. Leo and AD are the two that are the glitter versions technically, which makes sense because they are a part of the Ultra Brothers and such. But yeah, we'll open this whenever I can actually stream it. So here we have the set out and such. So taking a look at them one by one as we typically do. Here is the Ultraman Stone Gashapon version. Obviously just like the Blazar and Niji Kagachi candy toy versions. Obviously appearance wise it's the exact same until we look at the back here, as it's a different numbering, as it's V023. So here is the DX one and such. So I think for this one, the only difference here is that his nose is a lot bigger and the mouth is more opened and such, which again is very minor. Seems like the lightning is the same, but you can tell the lightning here, or this point here, is a lot more pointier as opposed to this. But this one seems more pointier as opposed to this one. And obviously the pins of the track is different. Then here we have Leo, to which I think, yeah, they chose orange for Leo, which is interesting. Because Leo is most of the time represented with blue, but he got represented by red once in set. V034. I don't remember if he got represented by red in Taiga. And here we have Astra, which is again very nice to finally have because Astra barely gets any merch. And he's represented with black. Again, he's typically represented with the light blue. But, I guess black works. And he is V035, so he does follow directly after Leo. And finishing up our Ultra Brothers, we have 80, who's now represented with green, or light green, really interestingly. I think he's in the same case like Astra. He typically gets represented with a light blue until Trigger, where they made him pink, which I think pink honestly actually is probably the best color for him, but he's green yet again. Because I guess an Ultra Brother, there's not enough Ultra Brothers that are green. Trek V038. And now we have our new generation stones for the set. We have Ginga Stream, which is in the same color scheme as Decker Dynamic Type, which I already said before, I really do like that color scheme. So to see it again is pretty interesting. Though, it's interesting that they also consider Ginga Stream a power-up stone and such, which is not wrong, but it's like, there are other stones that could have had this luxury, but they decided to apply it last minute to these ones. And then this one's V098. Because last but not least, we have G'd Royal Mega Master, which is in the standard gold, or yellow and then the gold and such. So again, G'd Royal Mega Master yet again actually gets to be a power-up form and such. And it's track V118. So let's use these in the Blazar brace. So we will start off with Garmon. Definitely wants to focus. Obviously that's the same, but I don't mind it because I love it. Obviously, if you recall from the Blazar Stone and the Nijikarachi Stone, this version of Garmon will have two new sounds. So that's Gento just basically saying to lend him its power. And we get a repeat of that grunt again, because I'm pretty sure that grunt was in the original one, but again, I don't mind it. And then everyone else, or our Showa Ultras. Obviously, Leo's transformation is incredibly short, so it outlasts. So the animation will outlast. And obviously, it's just the one attack. And I just realized, I guess with this specific grunt of Leo, it has a sound effect attached to it too. Astra. Oh, again, we won't show the standbys for these. Or show us. Obviously, Astra just gets stuck with a generic sound. And his singular grunt. 80. '80 would have been cool to see animated, especially with the second one. And again, just his grunt. I'm actually happy they chose that one. Just cause, like, you know, I like that with the majority of the Showa Ultras, and you know, again with the others, or some of the like Heisei ones, they are choosing grunts that they haven't really used and such. Obviously, thanks to the hyper keys and such. But Ginga Stream. Obviously, we only get the standby for the Ginga Spark because obviously this does not use the Ginga Spark. So there we have the transformation for Ginga Stream. Interestingly enough, they recycle Ginga's grunt and not actually use the one attached to Ginga's Stream. And we still have the Ginga call out, interestingly. Even though it's, again, not accurate. And G Royal Mega Master. Again, the standby is not correct because it's using the G Riser as opposed to the King's Sword. Again, for me, obviously, it's actually nice to hear that transformation with King's voice, because obviously I don't have any of Jeet's toys. That's carried over, but I think that's how they typically do Jeet's forms. And I guess it's also kind of neat to actually get to, well, obviously, because the first time, obviously, Royal Mega Master ever got merchandise, it was in the Roop Gyro. And we know how that was. So this set is weird, but not really, because I'm glad that they did this set, but at the same time, like, of course they were going to, because if we were to go off of the Ultra accessories, or I think the full name again are the Ultra Taiga accessories, or the Ultra medals, all four, like, those two lines went up to 4 waves and such. It was only the hyper keys that only went with 2, but that's just because the hyper keys actually released the majority of the programmed sounds and such. Because I think the Ultra capsules went up to 7 to 9 waves, and I think the crystals went up to 5 to 7, I think. But, like, I don't think this is a bad lineup. I do think they found a good job at actually justifying it, because I think I just realized I've been ignoring the variants, if I remember. I'm still editing the videos, but obviously you're gonna see the next 2 later, because I was told to hold those ones back. But, like, I'm pretty sure I did mention the variants for the Gashapon 3, but I think they did a smart decision of holding back, or of being able to, or they did a smart thing of, like, just making and still having that consistency of the Gashapon variants being glitter versions of the Ultra Brothers and such, because obviously Leo and 80 are Ultra Brothers. They're kind of like, I think they're in the same vein as Mebius. Of just like, okay, like, we're a part of the Ultra Brothers, but we're not technically the main Ultra Brothers and such. Especially Leo. I think Leo makes a lot more sense, just because obviously he came from a different planet. 80 and Mebius are kind of more, it's kind of weird that they kind of just forget them and such. So, like, I don't mind this lineup. This lineup is pretty good overall. The fact that we got Astra is pretty good, because it's kind of sad that the Ultra Metals couldn't even give us Astra, because it was him and Tiga's forms that we just needed just to at least be able to do all the fusions up to that point. But for some reason they didn't bother. But, like, I don't know which connotation this is going to come out as, but you can clearly tell, like, I feel like Blazar is, like, the most obvious of, like, they chose certain stones just to get the sounds out, because, yeah, honestly, why would they have only just put out Ginga Stream and Geode Royal Mega Master. Like, why would these two be a part of this? And it's just because those two stones are the last stones within their category that needed to be released for that series. Because technically, again, I think Ginga and Victory should technically be paired, but I don't think that's the case. I don't know. Like, I'm going to pair Ginga and Victory together. Technically, they only had 4 stones. So, obviously, there's Ginga, Victory, or technically in the numbering, it's Ginga, Ginga Stream, Blank, Victory, and then Ginga Victory. But then you also have to keep in mind there's like 5 Ginga, like 3 Gingas programmed into the Blazar brace. And then with Geode, there's only 3 forms programmed. There's Geode Primitive, Geode Royal Mega Master, and Geode Galaxy Rising. So, like, in a way, it is smart. It was smart of them to put these 2 forms out, because I think these were the only other, like, I'll say auxiliary forms left that weren't Zero and Decker that they needed to put out. So, like, again, I don't want to say this. I don't want to come off as like it's a bad thing. It is smart, but it's like, I don't know why it took them until the end of the line to like actually be concerned and be like, well, shoot, like, we need to get these sounds out. Which is why I'm very happy that we got the Gashapon, like, another version of Garamon, just because I thought it was extremely weird that they were like, oh, we're gonna, because, again, they should have just done a 3rd Candy Toy set. That would have resolved everything and such, so that they didn't have to feel like cramped and such. Because I think this set would have been, especially because I think the Federon armor is like on the poster for this set, which obviously we don't even have that stone because they didn't do a Candy Toy Set 3. So it's like, we could have had this perfect world where we had a second set of Blazar's main stones that actually did something different, just to get all those sound, like, not all of them, because again, some of the, especially with all the variants of the Blazar Stone, we don't need them all out, because some of them are only just the spiral braid or just a singular sound. It's like, no, like, just get the ones that actually are at least minorly different. But, like, you know, because I'm already, like, talking about this compassionately, I guess, like, I'm gonna use this set as a way to just talk about the toy line as a whole, because this is technically the last retail thing, or this was technically the last thing released for the toy line when the show was still airing. So, like, obviously, the next 2 videos, right, the next video after tomorrow's, or whatever, like, the video after the next one, that is technically for that is for the recap series. Technically, it's not for Blazar. I will still credit it under Blazar, but it's not, like, it's still a part of that toy line, but it's like, it's post series and such. So I don't think it's, I think it will be more appropriate just to address it here. Especially because, again, I've basically been, like, Blazar, I guess, is interesting, where I've actually been kind of spilling it out in, like, at, like, a little bits of each of these videos. But, like, yeah, the toy line, I think the toy line definitely fumbled. My issue with the toy line is that it wasn't pushing enough things out. It took its time. Like, it took Like, the thing is that I get that in the case of the show, obviously they heavily demanded to not have like the gimmick like harp in the show and such, which obviously that's fine for the show and such. But the thing is that for the toy line, for like the first few months to go out of its way to like push itself to be like this new innovative, like to be like very innovative and like to go out of its way, be like, well, look at like how much effort, like look at all this like specified like stuff we did with this technology and such. Even though again, it's not like obviously again, it's just taking the same like system that Drive did, but like actually adding color to it. But like my issue is that I honestly think the Blazar brace is too underpowered. It's way underpowered. It should not be running on triple A's. It should be running on double A's. Like, which just doesn't. I don't know why they couldn't make it so it ran on double A's. Because then I think that's why there are so many drawbacks to the Blazar brace and why they had to do so much sacrifices. Because like that's probably why the majority of the Ultramen in this thing only share one singular animation and only have one singular sound. Like I don't know if it has to do with it. I don't know if they have to cut back on the sound capacity just due to how underpowered it is and such. But like it's just so like I think I've already said this before, but like, you know, I think if you at least collect up to like set 5 of the Blazar Stones, I think you're fine. But the more like you actually start collecting the Blazar Stones outside of the main line, like Gashpon, Candy Toy, EX, the whole fun of it starts falling apart. because you see all of the like cutbacks or like all the things that like you definitely see the true nature of the toy, and it's so disheartening and such. Because I think the Blazar Stones as a gimmick, like they're kind of middle of the road, but like I think they're at least innovative, or they're at least unique and such. I think the only thing about them is just they have weird color choices. But other than that, like the foundation was there. Like they like literally masked out. Like they literally masked like the flaws of this toy line because they kept pushing the new generation and such. But then like obviously they wanted the mentality of people actually wanting to collect the toy line and such. And like obviously when people do, they see the true colors of this toy. And it's just like I generally feel like the only way to solve it is if they actually added more power to the toy itself instead of just making it run under triple A's. Because like it's cool that they managed to get it to run on triple A's, but at the same time, you have constantly seen how much it drains the batteries and such. And I've already said this multiple times, but like I just feel like this toy in a way is backwards to the D Flasher because I don't know if I already said it. Like I didn't buy into Decker just because I didn't want to deal with cards. I don't want to. I was kind of. I didn't want to deal with cards at that point just because of the quality of the Ultra Access cards. But like obviously, actually having them in hand, it's kind of nice to know that like okay, the cards are actually just traditional card quality. They're not gonna like dent up on you instantly or come in already dented. But like the thing too is that like, you know, a Decker, I was already kind of just getting that fatigue of just like, oh okay. It's just like, like, I thought the D-Flasher functionally was just kind of, like, middle of the road, because it's just like, you only get, like, a transformation sound and, like, a singular attack with the grunt and then the finisher and such. But, like, I'll at least commend the D-Flasher for at least programming literally, like, everything from, like, Ultraman up to that point and such. They bothered to at least give everyone a chance, even if we weren't gonna get, like, them officially released. They at least took into consideration of, like, giving everyone equal functionality. Obviously, unless it's like a special, like, occasion and such. I don't know how for this toy line they went backwards. Because, like, again, with some ultras, I kind of get it. Like, great, powered, Zerth, nice, USA. Like, okay, I probably get, like, those guys have, like, a generic finisher. So, like, I probably get that you probably don't want to, like, constantly repeat that through. But then why did that mean that the majority of the other ultras get their finishers eliminated? But then only TDG and, like, basically only TDG got to, like, keep their stuff. But then why is it only Tiga that actually gets an animation, but not Dinah, Gaia, and Ogle? Like, those three are weird. Like, again, like, I'm excluding the new generation because, yeah, it made sense that they were going to get specialties and such. And, like, obviously, Ultraman makes sense because he's the first one and such. And it's just kind of weird because, again, I think it just would have been better if they used the animation of the specialty, like, the one from, like, the new generation stone, or, like, Orb Spacium Zaperion. I would have preferred, and I think Reboot too, I would have just preferred if they used that animation for, like, for the ones they couldn't fulfill animations for and such. And then, like, I guess going back to finishers, like, it's probably, like, a good thing that they did, like, cut down on, like, I think this toy actually eliminated the, like, generic finisher that's been a thing since Taiga and such. Which, obviously, it's like, it's kind of cool that they're finally actually trying to, like, or I guess they, like, it's more of like, okay, like, we know that this person we don't have the sound for some reason for this character's finisher and such, but it's like, I don't know, there's just, like, there's, like, weird, what do you call it, I forgot the word, favoritism, like, that aren't the new generation. Because, like, again, like, the favoritism towards TDG is kind of weird. And it's just, because it's, like, it's also just weird of how they chose which Ultras actually got all their forms programmed into the toy and who didn't. Because this toy has so much wasted space. There is a bunch of just blank spaces that are just Gento saying this is the power of Ultraman, or this is the power of Kaiju. And it's like, you could have used these tracks to program more forms in. But honestly, like, I think most people would probably prefer of what we have, because it's like, obviously, the forms that are already programmed into this thing are technically already disappointing enough because the animations are just carried over. The only difference is just maybe the grunt. But, like, again, we have a Zet situation where for some reason all, like, his three main forms all have the Zetium Coulson, which is not something he does in those forms. And then, like, I think in Decker's case, again, for some reason, all of his other forms that aren't not Miracle, Flash type, for some reason do the Solgen Coulson. I think, and then Trigger just doesn't have finishers with his. Now I think about it, I might be wrong with Decker's forms, but it's like, that's the thing too. It's like, out of all the, out of the Ultras, they chose to add all the forms in. Why Trigger and Decker? Because, like, why? I think Zero and Zet, I think, are like the only two Ultras they chose for, like, forms that actually are gonna, like, look different. Or I think it's technically only Zet. Like, yes, Trigger and Decker obviously aesthetically are gonna look different, but it's just like they're type changes. Why are the majority of the forms are like why do the type changes get to stay into this toy, but we can't have things like Orb Trinity, Jeed Ultimate Final, Groob, Rega? Like, why can't we have that stuff? Where are the actual final forms? But, like, that's why I have to say, like, I don't know if it's really worth buying into the Blazar toy line. Like, I think you're honestly better off just getting the Memorial Edition. Or just staying in line with just the in-show stones. Because you're going to be satisfied enough. Like, basically, again, all these other stones are just extra playability. But at the same time, if you've been collecting a lot of Ultraman, you've been collecting the Ultraman toy lines, you're technically, like, you're not technically getting a lot. You're just getting these things, like, you're getting the same things you've been getting, just in various quality change, like, speaker quality differences. Because I think, because, like, honestly, yes, I think it's cool that, like, the Blazar Brace is utilizing the sound rips they've been using since Trigger and actually implementing it in a main toy and such. Because I think in the case of the D-Flasher, for some reason, for Ginga Victory, they utilized, like, the sounds from the hyper keys for the Ginga Cross shoot and the Victorium shoot. I don't know why they did that, but, like, it's in there. But, like, so, like, again, I commend the Blazar Brace for doing that, because even though, again, the Dimensionizer was the first to do that, but, like, obviously this one's a more, like, mainstream attempt. Because I think it's more fair to get those sounds out, so then people aren't stuck with having to get only the hyper keys and such. But, like, it's just more like you're probably just better off getting the hyper key sets, like, again, or again the Dimensionizer, because it's like, again, they only do it to the new generation heroes. You don't get it. You don't get the callouts for Dinah, Gaia, Algo, Cosmos, or Mebius and such. Like, you don't, or like Leo 780. Like, you don't get those sounds at all. So, and, like, again, like, some ultras too are just, you can clearly tell they just copy and paste it from, like, other established toys. Even though, like, characters like Powered, for example, they actually did update his specifications, but didn't bother applying it to this actual toy. But then characters like or if Spacium Zaperion actually gets an updated like transformation, but Zero they still keep going back and forth on which version of the transformation they go with. It's just like I know like this obviously could be debated for like any Ultraman toy line, but I think the Blazar Stones are are kind of that point of just like like buying into like the Blazar toy line definitely made me like second guess of just like, or made me actually kind of appreciate the Decker toy line a bit more and such. Just cause uh, like yes, they were just barcoded cards again. Like at least they tried to be somewhat innovative, even though the innovation was kind of still lackluster and such, especially coming after the hyper keys. Obviously, the issue with the hyper keys is that it was just heavily premium and such. They didn't really do much. There wasn't really much for you in retail. But like I guess like I'll at least say the hyper keys did a good job. Like the trigger toy at least did a good job of like not making you necessarily feel obligated to buy into the premium stuff. But obviously, it's just that the premium keys were a lot more cooler functionality wise as opposed to the DX ones. And like, I guess Decker is like, I mean, Decker you can just buy the props card sets and like the Memorial Edition. You're fine for the most part and such. But this toy line, however, is just like yeah, it was fun actually buying into like another Ultraman series. It's just it's just that like I don't know what Bandai was thinking. I feel like after the first month they basically stopped trying because it's like it was honestly kind of ridiculous that for it was ridiculous that in September they didn't bother trying to push out product. Or they only because like August and September honestly were annoying for the main line at least because August we only had like one stone set, and then same with September. But at least September had another roleplay weapon. It wasn't until October they were like, oh yeah, we should actually probably release more than one thing, and actually for the first time release more than one stone set. like like obviously August did still have stuff. It had Gashapon 2 and the Tiga Stone power type. But like I just don't get like I don't get why they weren't trying to push out like more stones at us. Like cuz at least say they did a better job at like putting out EX sets. Cuz we at least got like 3 EX sets that before the recap show. Because Decker didn't. Well, I mean, technically they did the same amount that Trigger did, but then somehow they obtained a third one that I don't think is worth getting. And like that's the thing too. Like the majority, like when Blazar does actually do like extra, like or like exclusively like released Blazar stones, they don't add anything new. Like the one from the single, yeah, cool. It like it shines, but like they didn't bother changing the track, so it's just the same one from the initial like one you get from the toy itself. And then like with the Tamashi Nations set with the glitter versions of TDG, cool. Like the only thing that was cool about it is that the glitter Tiga is actually glitter Tiga, but like Dinah, Gaia, and Ogle are the same. And the thing, there's a TDG sound. but we're not gonna get that. And then what? The movie releases, the theater exclusives that just got a release, those just do the same things that they originally did in their original release counterparts. Even though there's a sound for the movie, it's just I don't get it. I don't know why they're not trying to push out like more sounds and such. Because it's just like I feel like every time they actually do something of like, okay, here we're actually gonna like release this new stone. Oh yeah, the Ultra Heroes Expo stone too. You know, like how yearly we actually do, because obviously there's always a Expo sound programmed into the toys, but I just don't get why in this case they just gave it the new Generation Stone track. It doesn't make sense because it's a glitter version of Blazar. Like it's at least not the Blazar track, but like there's an Ultra Heroes Expo sound programmed into this thing. Why don't you use it? How do you guys not? How have you guys forgotten of what's programmed into your own toy? like, like this is the stuff I would have preferred if Trigger did, because I feel like Trigger didn't do enough of like the extra stuff in like certain areas, but they at least did a lot of peril, which I can't say that for Blazar. Like, it's just like, should I feel bad that I like collected this toy line? I feel like that's kind of the case for like 50% of the time. Like, I can't blame people for not enjoying it. But at the same time, I don't want to come out as like me being like I don't want this to come out as like, well, you can't like criticize the toy line because like I am like because I don't think this toy line's great either. And such. But like at the same time, like I do actually want to try to like, or I basically it's like I've already kind of done enough of like trying to give out like fairness to this toy line. But like I don't think it's not a bad toy line and such. I think it's at least more eventful than Rube, but like because at least this toy, like at least the Blazar brace, at least took into consideration to program all the main ultras and such, as opposed to Rube. But like, I don't know. I feel like the two at the end of the day are kind of the same, which is kind of sad. So it's just like it's just unfortunate because like you have a really mixed toy line go alongside a also really mixed series. Like basically it's either overtly positive or overtly mixed. But I feel like this toy line is more just heavily mixed because it like fumbled it like it did a really bad job at keeping its momentum. Which I think is probably the best way to put it and such. So obviously you can get this set. I think Tokolocals did have this set up, but it's probably sold out. I got this off of Macari via Bai, but for some reason it took a month for me to get it. I generally don't know why. And then it took another like 2 weeks for me to get. So I got this in December, and then it finally came to me in February. Because it's February 28th today. But get it if you want. I'll honestly just say get it for the Garamon stone. But obviously if any of these ultras are your favorite, then I suggest for you to get it. Other than that, it's not necessary, but it's like it's neat and such. So that'll have to do this review. This is Ryder, and I'll leave people.